We beat Bayern Munich in the cup final, and we lifted the DFB Pokal trophy. And it's a good job we did, really, because we finished down in 9th place. So winning the cup means Europa League football next season. And in a season full of injuries, I'm hoping to put all of that behind us.
You can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious!
So with those injuries and the desire to improve, I've been busy in this transfer window. And when Marjanovic returned from his long duty, I seen he was capped for Serbia, and I looked at Serbia's team. And I proceeded to sign 3 of their hot prospects. First off, we have Laszlo Farkas, left back, very good mentals, not so good on the technicals or physicals just yet, but he's only 19 years of age and we picked him up for 500k. Followed by Goran Ivanovic. This guy looks class until you realise he can't really head the ball. But again, he's only 19 years of age and he's very brave, just like Laszlo Farkas, and he has some very good attributes other than that. He is 6'5", and as a centre-back, I like 6'5" players. Plus, only 950k. And finally, we've got Milos Misic, who plays on the right-hand side at the back. Once again, fantastic in the mentals department, really good on the physicals department too, just kind of lacking some technicals. But once again, he's only 19 and from Serbia, and we only spent £1.1 million. However, we did actually sign one more player before the window opened, and that was Vladan Kovacevic, who is a Bosnian goalkeeper, and this guy is fantastic. We are needing a new goalkeeper. I said I wanted to improve with one, and this 6'4" Bosnian is perfect, and we only spent £2.1 million. We still have £13 million to spend, and we will look to see who else to bring in. We were also invited to start a second team, which I was really happy with, as it means game time for our youngsters coming through. With Basir Omoragic out for half of the season, I decided to bring in another centre-back with the experience of Victor Nelson, the big Dane with fantastic mentals, for £3.3 million from AC Milan. Of course, after beating Bayern Munich in the final, we got to play them in the Super Cup, and both the fans and supporters believe the cup final was a fluke.
How dare you?
So with a couple of tactical tweaks to the 4-4-2 and with some players recovering from injury, we look to cause back-to-back upsets on the champions, who just spent over £100 million on Bukayo Saka. Okay, maybe the fans and board were right.
Guys, relax. Relax!
Our potential final signing is Ez Abdi from Barcelona, who plays on both wings. After winning 8-1 in the first round of the cup, we head into 3 games starting with Werder Bremen. Our start to the league campaign was just as poor as we ended last season's, conceding after 5 minutes. We had a corner which was played out, and we eventually worked the ball into Diamonde, who knew exactly where the net was. But it didn't last long, and as soon as Werder bagged the second, we lose 2-1. Followed by a 2-1 loss to Dortmund as well from this 92nd minute from Sule. Thankfully, we got our first points on the board in the following game against Stuttgart in a fantastic 4-0 win. And we thoroughly deserved it too, playing really well and playing to our strengths and using our physicality and putting the game away early, scoring all 4 goals by the 70th minute. Unfortunately, we absolutely sucked again when we faced Freiburg. Europa League though against Partizan, and brace yourselves, it was a great penalty from Jordan, and then Ivanovic, the Serbian against the Serbian team, brings the ball down, mazy run, and smashes in the best goal off the crossbar I've ever seen. We finished the game 3-0 when Jordan Siebatcheu got himself a brace in the second half. We then robbed Leipzig of all 3 points when our goalkeeper got man of the match in this 0-0 win. But in a much better performance, we rattled 5 past Wolfsburg away. And we played terribly against Bayern Munich and lost 3-0, but I was not that disappointed, and I will show you why. We actually had a decent month in the Bundesliga, ending it with another 5-0 win against Mainz. And in the Europa League, we won 2 games, a 4-1 against Rangers and a 5-1 against Galatasaray. We even scored a late winner against Leverkusen in the second round of the DFB Pokal to beat them 3-2. And I have the tactical tweaks I made in the last couple of months to thank. We do sit in 7th at the minute and a little outside the European spots, but Europa League itself is going well, being in the top 8 so far, and we have Mainz next in the DFB Pokal. Jordan's still scoring most of the goals, and there is a lot more of a supporting cast from midfield chipping in is what I've noticed this season. So on to November, when we started the month off beating St. Gallen, followed by a win against Dusseldorf with a couple of late goals. 2 even later goals in a win against Augsburg. Another easy win in Europa League followed, and finishing off the month with a 4-1 win against Arminia Bielefeld. What a great month that is! It's only moved us into 6th place in the league, but 2 points behind second. Bayern Munich have won 13 out of 13, by the way.
Are you serious right now, bro?
On to December, and we continued our fantastic form against Gladbach when Jordan Siebatcheu struck first. To their credit though, Gladbach did equalise 5 minutes later through Brereton Diaz, but luck was firmly in our corner. Although you do make your own luck in my opinion, Seydou Keita bangs in the winning goal in the 91st minute. Our winning run finally came to an end when Hamburg held us to a 0-0 draw. And after drawing to Cologne, we go into the Berlin derby on an 11-game unbeaten run, winning 8 of those last 11 matches. And we found ourselves up by 2 just before Piatek's goal. Jordan then banged in a penalty to make it 3, and it was our Italian stallion Cancellieri who found the near post in a massive 4-1 away derby win. What a perfect way to end the year 2026. In the new year, we secured the signing of Tyler Adams for the summer on a free transfer from Leeds, a quality player who can play in a number of different positions on the pitch and has an incredible array of attributes, especially in the mental and physical department. Remember how much of an amazing run we went on through November and December? Well, although we only lost 1 game to Stuttgart in January, an embarrassing 4-0 as well, we only won 1 game in Europa League and we drew the rest. We also faced Mainz in the DFB Pokal 3rd round and looked confident as we went 1-0 up through Cancellieri in the 44th minute. And then he doubled our lead through an even better goal that he scored right on half-time. But Mainz decided to show up in the 86th minute when Serda's run was unchecked and he pulled one back, only to then equalise in the 90th minute before taking the game to extra time, where Lawrence Dell put us back in front. But with the last kick of the game in the 121st minute, Liam Miller fancied some penalties. His teammate didn't know and he missed the first penalty. We didn't know, and after a couple of more was scored, Gonzalez's penalty was saved, evening up the shootout. And then the keeper made a fantastic save from Cancellieri, and after Mainz scored their next couple, they went on and won 4-3 on penalties to knock us out. So our focus must turn to the league, where we sit just outside of the European spots, and in Europa League, where we have indeed qualified in the top 8 unbeaten. Let's take a look at our Serbian youngsters then, as Marjanovic is looking absolutely fantastic and playing well too. Ivanovic has started over the half of the Bundesliga games so far and again has done a solid job developing really well. Farkas hasn't started as much of the games as what he'd liked and he is unhappy because of that. Misic is out on loan and started 18 games so far and playing really well. One of the teams above us in Europa spots is Leipzig, and they pulled ahead against us through Jan Thielmann. But completely against the run of play in a game that they were dominating, we grabbed an equaliser. And in the second half, Diomande worked hard to get the ball back and Aranya got his second assist of the game when Seydou Keita slotted in the winner. That was followed by a 3-0 win against 10-man Wolfsburg. We unfortunately fell 3-0 ourselves when we travelled to Leverkusen. But on a more positive note, we got our draw for the Europa League and French side Angers awaits. And we gained the advantage of the first leg 1-0 when Aranya dispossessed their defender to find Moffi for an easy goal. We were a lot stronger in the frost of March for the home leg, winning the game 4-1 and 5-1 across both legs. 4 different goal scorers and all around some very good performances from Union Berlin. Either side of that match though, we unfortunately lost both of the Bundesliga matches against Frankfurt and Bayern Munich, who by the way have run away with the league. Again, we finish off the month defeating Mainz 1-0 once again with a Terem Moffi goal. A tasty tie against Newcastle in the quarterfinals of the Europa League to come, but our rivals Hertha, they're in a little bit of trouble again. 16th! Before you see the results of the Europa League, I think I need to remind you of how much money we haven't spent throughout this series so far. Whereas Newcastle in the first season alone already spent 45 million, then 85 million pound, and we can see here bringing in the likes of Lewis Dunk and Tanganga. They're not the best players, but then the following season another 126 million was spent. Again, they're not spending it that well, but as you go on, they seem to be getting better and better. Jefferson Lerma's a good signing. Curtis Jones on a free transfer is not bad at all. And the final season here, £123 million with the likes of Ivan Toney, John Stones, Thiago, some really big hitters. And it was 26-year-old Curtis Jones who I want to highlight most for the Toon Army, because he absolutely ripped us open. I mean, his mate and one of my favourite players to watch at the minute, Bruno Guimaraes, he also played a part in all 3 of Curtis Jones's goals as Newcastle beat us in the first leg 5-2 in a great display where money truly prevailed over our young, hard-working lineup. We couldn't quite fight back in the second leg either, and it's a quarter-final exit from the Europa League.
I can't believe it!
Back to the Bundesliga, however. It's 4 wins from 4, a huge month for the club, and although we were playing the bottom half of the league, it was still fantastic to see. And the final game of the season is the Berlin Derby, which could be one of the most important Berlin derbies ever, as we fight for Champions League football and they fight to survive in the league. Surely we wouldn't be the ones to relegate them, right? Well, we started the month off beating Hamburg 1-0, and Hertha lost to Wolfsburg 3-1. But the team below them, Dusseldorf, they drew to Augsburg before beating Bielefeld 1-0. And after going 1-0 up, Hertha lose to Bayer Leverkusen, meaning Dusseldorf go 2 points ahead and Hertha need to beat us to survive, and Dusseldorf to lose as well. Meanwhile, we were battered by Cologne and need a result for a certain European competition qualification. So yes, it is the most important Berlin derby ever, and it was the AI who made a massive defensive mistake and Terem Moffi stole the ball and finished in the 6th minute. Diamonde then rattled in a free kick, and what a home game this is for Union Berlin fans, as Jordan put in a penalty to send Hertha Berlin down to the Bundesliga 2. And it also confirmed one more thing. We have qualified for the Champions League.
Get in!
Finishing in 4th, which is going to be absolutely fantastic for us financially and to challenge us next season. Dusseldorf also win their final game, so Hertha would have been screwed anyway, but it was still great to send them down relegated. The squad has been fantastic, and a lot of youngsters have stepped up with more first-team football. Just like Marjanovic, who is pretty much our best player now. Make sure you're subscribed though, and how much do you think the board have given us for Champions League football next season? Well, I'll tell you, it was just £17 million.